Hi guys, and welcome back to Milk and Mummies podcast. Today's episode is one for every parent who's ever felt like the real work begins after birth. I'm joined by the incredible founder of the Postpartum Plan, Meg. It's a movement born out of personal experience, deep advocacy, and a fierce passion for changing how we support families. She's worked with the Birth Inquiry at Parliament, and she's on a mission to help all parents of every gender and family structure not just survive, but thrive in the postpartum period. So let's dive into this honest and empowering conversation. Hi Meg, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. We're just going to dive right into this actually. And I know you shared a lot on social media already about this, but for those who don't know, can you please take us back to your own experience of birth trauma? We're diving right in.
Let's just go right in.
Yeah.
Straight out the gates. Go straight into birth trauma. Okay. So I guess trigger warning for anyone who's had birth trauma. But actually, for me anyway, speaking about it more has been really good for me. Just for anyone who has been through birth trauma, actually just the ability to speak through it does really help. So I was pregnant with my first in 2016 and I did all the right things, right? Like I did the hypnobirthing and I made the birth plan and it was a smooth pregnancy. And then went into labour. And I was in the birth pool and what I know now, so full compassion, is that my midwife had an at-risk woman in the other room who she needed to get to. Okay. So there was a bit of a rush. So she was like, I'm going to break your waters. And I remember instinctively, and I'm sure we'll talk about mum instinct at some point, being like, I don't think that's the right thing to do. But it was, I trusted her and so okay, fine. And then what happened after that is I think that my son wasn't quite in the right position. Okay. And so I was pushing and it just didn't feel right. And they kept on checking the Jude's heartbeat and then it just dropped. Okay. And so I was kind of hauled out the birth pool. Of course. And taken to a room and then suddenly, gone from one midwife and my husband to like 12 people, emergency button pressed. And it's funny what you remember because this beautiful woman appears. And she was like, right, this is an emergency now. Okay. And they had to do an episiotomy and pull Jude out. Yeah. And I got him on my chest for, I think, what was about 5 seconds. Okay. And I looked in his beautiful eyes and then he was taken away. Okay. And then there was a bit of chat about something and basically then he was just taken out the room.
So no communication with you at that point or anything like that?
I mean, for anyone who's given birth, and you're high on adrenaline and that's the incredible thing about birth. My God, like shout out to everyone who's given birth. The animal instinct that kicks in and the kind of adrenaline and stuff that goes through, I don't quite remember. But there was a risk of brain damage. Okay. Is all we were told, which also is pretty intense to hear after you've given birth. Yep. Also, I want to make reference to partners, men or, any partner who is in a room watching that unfold. I think it's also really important to reference the fact that partners also go through their own form of birth trauma because that room was covered in blood. Okay. And Dave remembers me being carried to the loo and looking at him and like manically laughing. I don't remember that. Okay. Wow. But I think I was so nervous and not really knowing how to bring out this emotion in me that it just brought out some sort of weird laugh. Anyway, we had to wait. He was born at 2:30 in the morning. We had to wait until 7 a.m. for neonatal to open. And what had happened is there was a risk of brain damage and the hospital we were in specialised in this. Okay. So he was put into a incubator and was cooled. And he was cooled down to a certain degree and then slowly warmed back up. And that would prevent seizures and brain damage. Yeah. So we went in at 7 a.m. and I guess the issue that I had was that we weren't allowed to touch him for 72 hours. So
it's a long time.
It's a long time. Yeah. And because he wasn't with us, Dave then went home for those nights. Okay. I think it was 2 or 3 nights that I was in that hospital on my own. And every night that I was there, I would wake shaking And you know, like when a gazelle is chased by a lion and it survives, it gets up and it shakes and then it walks off. And that is its body expelling the energy. And I didn't know that at the time, but that's what my body was doing, is expelling the trauma.
Okay.
And then we were just handed a sort of an A4 piece of paper on brain damage. And that was kind of all we were given. Right. So all the love, care and support was given to Jude, understandably, right?
Yeah,
like they were trying to save him.
Yeah.
Turned out it was complete preventative.
Okay.
He's totally fine.
Okay. Great. Fantastic.
I should have probably said that from the start.
which I knew. I knew that bit. But it was just I didn't know obviously the intricacies of what happened to lead to the A4 piece of paper that you got shoved in your hand, which I'm just like, we need more than that. But anyway, go on.
Right. So we were given that. Now, I believe that our society sees birth as the end goal. And that's really important. Safe birth is so important to everyone. Some people potentially are given safer births than others, and maybe we can talk about that and the inequality of it all. But our society does see birth as the end goal. We're given like 13 appointments when we're pregnant, and then it's like 2 or 3 appointments postpartum, and actually they're mostly about the baby. So we went home fully traumatized, right? Full PTSD. And yet we had this safe, healthy baby with us. I should probably say after, when he was in the incubator for 72 hours and there was no seizure, then I was given him to hold, but we weren't allowed to take him out of neonatal until I could prove I could breastfeed. Now, I'm in neonatal, surrounded by random men and women that I don't know, beeping sound, bright lights, etc. I couldn't breastfeed.
Of course, the stress, the shock to your body, you didn't have the time to have him, to have that bonding time with him, to help all of that, to kickstart all of that as well. And I have to prove to people that I can breastfeed before I can go. Yes.
Now, I'd been pumping like a maniac for those 3 days. That was the only thing I remember doing. Like I would just sit there and pump and pump. So also then I had complete oversupply.
Yeah.
Anyway, we get home and I, in hindsight, and I think about this with so much compassion to myself, I was a complete mess. Because number one, I thought there was something wrong with him. Number two, I thought it was all my fault. And so I didn't see anyone.
Okay.
I would walk with him for hours in the carrier, so we had some sort of closeness to each other.
Yeah.
But I didn't see the NCT lot. I didn't talk to Dave about it. And I would spend nights just with incredibly intrusive thoughts.
Okay.
So how I could have done the birth better, if something happens to him, how I would save him.
Yeah.
And I'd say that went on. It was a long and lonely road to recovery. And I say lonely because I didn't tell anyone that I was going through it, because that's the other piece, right? Like we're told to be, that it's all so natural and it all should come to you in such a beautiful way.
Yeah.
And for me, it just didn't. I was so anxious all the time. And every, I haven't really admitted this to anyone, but every healthy, safe birth that my friends had, there'd be a part of me that was like, why not me? And hopefully that resonates with some people, that it's complete, that's like full compassion, that actually we can feel those feelings and know that that is our body mourning what we kind of expected we'd have.
Of course.
So that was the birth. And it was big and it was an intense moment, but it also has led me to the work that I do now. Yeah,
which is phenomenal. Just trying to process what you said. It is incredible. Sorry, what you just described is incredible, and it's heartbreaking and it's sad. And as you said, you went through so much of that alone. And I think thinking about me and my birth, it wasn't anything like that at all. But I didn't anticipate the level of loneliness that I was going to feel, even though I had support and people around me, etc. So to have something traumatic happen and to still handle that alone or feel alone in that space must have been just huge on your mental, and the time that you would have needed to kind of eventually share with people or eventually unpack that must have taken a lot to... Do you know who the first person it was that you spoke to about anything?
It's really interesting. I remember when Jude was 8 months old. Again, I haven't shared this story either. When Jude was 8 months old, my friend had a wedding abroad.
Okay.
And a lot of my friends had kids as well.
Okay.
All around the same age. And I went there and I just felt so lonely. That was like the depth of like, okay, I need to do something about this now. Because I hadn't shared anything with them. They were my school friends.
So you've had years and years and years. These
right?
These are your core team.
Yeah, and yet I didn't feel I could tell them how I was feeling. And I think after that is when I really realised that my nervous system was just shot. And what you said about loneliness, you know, I was in that room in that hospital on my own for like 2 nights, right? Full nights of not being able to touch my baby, not having anyone there, shaking and not knowing what it was. And there was a lot that went on. And I feel like the midwives were amazing, right?
That's great.
And they're also there to hold the babies for the people who are there and, you know, recovering from C-section, etc. There wasn't any sitting down with me and being like, right, you are now going to be going through a form of trauma and you're maybe feeling X, Y, and Z. So for me, it was about educating myself on what I was going through and speaking to my husband and actually revealing how I feel. And you know what's so funny? When I finally did reveal it to him, he said, you know what? I've been dreaming most nights that of cutting the cord because you never got to do it.
Let's do that. Okay, I see.
And then you're like, oh my goodness, we're both going through this.
Yeah.
And feeling like we can't talk about it. And when you have a baby, the areas of your of anxiety and empathy in your brain fire up. And that's because we're animals at the end of the day, right? Like our society's changed massively, but really what goes on in our brain and our DNA, it hasn't really changed that much. And so it's there to help us keep our baby safe. What that means is that all our focus is on the baby, right? All our focus is on the care of our child. And we're not thinking about ourselves because almost that feels selfish. I mean, there's so much to unpack with that, right? And yet what I say to all my clients is that at the end of the day, if your baby comes into the world and you don't have the nursery and you don't have the fancy gadgets and everything, as long as you're okay, that baby has everything it needs.
It's true. That's very true. How did all of this inspire you and lead you to launching the Postpartum Plan? Like, what was that pivotal moment where you were like, okay, this is what I think is needed or what would be of service?
I work in the wellness industry, which I think also is another thing to say to people that like even people who work in this space can go through this. And if I can with all the tools and the stuff that I knew already, then anyone can, right? But what that also meant is I knew a lot of experts in the space. So when I had my second, and my second birth was a very healing birth, 15 minutes in the birth pool, I had the same midwife because she was so intent on giving me the birth that I wanted it was phenomenal. To the point that when I went into labour, I called her and I said, I don't want to be in the same birth room. And she said, I'm afraid the other birth room's busy. You're going to have to go into it. I was like, okay, I can deal with that. And as I walked in, the cleaner walked out of the birth room that I'd wanted. And she'd clearly gone in and gone, right, like, quick, let's do this. I walked in, my waters broke. Because my body had obviously just gone, okay, we're here.
We're here, we can do this.
Anyway, because I had all those tools and all those people that I knew, my second birth, I was like, right, that's it. I'm just throwing everything into what I can do. I got a doula. I mean, the most incredible doula called Tando Zwane. She's just phenomenal. I knew a physio. I knew a lactation consultant. And so I built myself up this village of experts. Which was, I mean, my postpartum was a completely different experience. Then lockdown hit. And I could not stop thinking about the people who were giving birth on their own.
Of course,
Suddenly going from having fine 2 visits from a health visitor, you know, the 6-week check, suddenly you're doing everything over Zoom. And I just couldn't stop thinking about those people. And without sounding super woo-woo, I was meditating. And
we love meditation. Meditation is welcomed here.
And Postpartum Plan just came to me. And I...
In its entirety or just the title? Or just
everything.
Oh, love that.
And I typed postpartumplan.co.uk into Google and it didn't exist.
Grab it.
I typed Postpartum Plan into Instagram. It didn't exist. And I was like, okay, either this is a really silly idea or it's something that we haven't thought about. We talk about the birth plan. But where's the postpartum plan? Where's that plan? Where's that team of experts after we give birth to support us with our emotional and physical recovery? So I called on everyone that I knew and I said, I want to create this and I want to create something that's cost effective, because it's not cheap to get a physio, a lactation consultant.
It is not.
So getting everyone together in sort of a virtual village to support new parents. Came up with the idea in January 2021 and I launched it in May 2021. I mean, I don't know what fire, I do know what fire was in me, but like, this is what I mean about what I went through I wouldn't wish it on anyone. And yet it led me to create
this phenomenal platform, this phenomenal incentive, this amazing thing.
Thank you.
Right?
Thank you.
It genuinely is. And it's like, it's incredible what and how you get inspired with each child. I remember always asking people, what's the one thing or one project you started after you had a child? Because I felt like you birthed them, but something else is also birthed, and it's like, do you follow that through and create it and bring it into the present or not? But this is just incredible.
Thank you.
You know?
I think the important thing about Postpartum Plan for me is that when I started researching it, I typed postpartum into Google or postnatal, and the next thing that comes is always fitness, bounce back, belly, Pilates, right? It's all fitness. Crazy. And for me, for what I went through, I believe that our emotional recovery sits as the foundation of absolutely everything we do. Okay. So the 5 pillars of Postpartum Plan are mindset, movement, reflection, recovery, and nutrition. Mindset is at the core of everything, right? Movement is there because obviously people want it and it's important, but it's called movement. It's not called exercise. Yeah. It is something to stretch the body and to make you feel good about yourself. It's not to get your body back.
Losing weight, counting calories, anything like that. Yeah.
Right? Our body, I mean, I don't know about you, my body has completely changed since I had children.
Yeah, totally. For sure. And I understood this. It took 9 months to grow this little person, and for me to get back into a space where, okay, this is my body and I'm comfortable, whatever else. It took a couple of years, and not because I wasn't uncomfortable in a negative. I think I was so happy and so welcomed to all things motherhood and the changes and the process and watching my body shift and change, whatever else. I was as interested in watching it go back, but it's more go into this new way of being, if that makes sense. Yeah. So the physical side, the whole physical side of this journey has been, from a very geeky standpoint, really interesting to me. So I'd never felt that pressure of I have to bounce back or I have to get back to whatever that was, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Random.
Because we don't go back.
Yeah, you can't.
So
it's changed. It really is.
I'll give you a really good example. The other day, so I've got 3 kids now, right? So I had my third after I created Postpartum Plan, and I can talk about my postpartum experience with that because it was completely different. But the other day we were in the bedroom and we got out my wedding dress, and the kids were like, "Try it on, mummy."
Oh, yeah.
And I put it on. And it was like the gaping space where my boobs used to be. But also my husband tried to tie it up at the back and was like, babe, like, did this tie up before? There's a good 4 inches. Like, my back has expanded, my hips have expanded. You know, breastfeeding 3 kids, I've got no boobs left, totally fine. So it's about adjusting. It's not just like going back to the weight that you were. Like, I am a different size.
Yeah, everything's changed.
Right?
Everything. I heard about this, but I put this down as like, one of those myths for sure. My feet have gone up a size. I was a size 5. I'm now a size 6. I did not think that would really be a thing. I heard about it, but I was like, whatever. That's not really possible. And I went, oh wow, I can't wear the shoes that I had. And I had a healthy love for shoes, whatever. Yeah. But I was like, oh wow, I have to go shopping again, which was really fun. Yeah. But you really physically you change.
You do.
You're just a whole new person.
One thing that annoys me about shoe size is, do you remember whole Cinderella having like the tiny foot?
Yeah.
And like being able to fit into this tiny, dainty little foot. And obviously the ugly sisters can't because their feet are too big. Yeah. And then like, what does that mean for us on a subconscious level, right? Like going up a shoe size. There's all these little messages that women are given after you've had a child that I think is really important. This is what I mean about the mindset work. It's like you are a new person and it's a new identity. You're still, my God, like I'm Meg in my soul at my core, and yet there's so much that's changed around me that it's so that to meet yourself where you're at and to love it and embrace it. And there's a line that I'm not going to say it word for word, but it's like becoming a mother is like finding a strange new room in a house where you already live. Yeah. So the house is still there, right? I am still there, and yet there's this strange new existence. There's this strange new identity within me to become accustomed to. Yeah. And I think this is where our society lacks massively in supporting us through that identity. What I would like to also say is that is exactly the same for partners. Partners go through the same feelings of identity shift, regret, shame, mourning of their past lives, which is an important part of our process as human beings, right? Like we mourn what we had before and then we step into this new space. I remember so clearly we went to the pub. Why are we always told to go to the pub on day 4? Anyway, that's like we went to the pub and I had Jude in like the baby carrier and I'm trying to eat this meal and like it's like dripping on his head.
Sure.
And my husband looks over and there's this young couple reading the paper and he's like, oh, we'll never get to do that again. And I was so cross at him at that time and now I know what that was. That was him just mourning part of a life that he had before. Doesn't mean he doesn't want the life that we have. And that's why the emotional recovery piece in our society is so lacking. That feeling of, I'm going to say how I'm feeling, and it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with it. How are we supported through this process of growth?
I hear that. We do. I guess you've kind of touched on this a little bit, but I guess what do you wish people understood about the postpartum period?
Oh, that's such a great question. We are told that postpartum has been collapsed into, at worst, up to the 6 or 8 week check, and at best, after the 4th trimester, which is 12 weeks, right? So I have clients who have gone on to that 8 week check, given this magical sign off, gone for a run and wet themselves because their pelvic floor's not ready, because their pelvic floor hasn't been checked. Or we all get to that end of that 4th trimester and we're like, oh, I've done it. Everything's going to change now. There is research out there that suggests that postpartum is 7 years. But if you think about it, if postpartum means after baby, then when are we ever not postpartum? Right? So it goes into what I was saying again about the identity piece, is that if we are a new person, how are we supported by that? If we're told that, oh, you have this 8 week check and then you can magically start exercising again, even though you might have diastasis recti, which most people don't know what that is. It's a splitting of the abdominal walls, which 100% of pregnant women have a form of stomach overstretch. And of that, 30% have diastasis, which is when the muscles split. 30 to 50% of women wet themselves a little or a lot after they've had kids, despite the fact that the right pelvic floor exercises can support that. There's all this stuff that will carry on unless we are given the right education and support. So that's the first one, is that it isn't after 8 weeks or after 12 weeks. It takes as long as it takes.
Fair.
Would you say to every single athlete, it's going to take you exactly X amount of time?
You
don't, right? So that's the first one. And the second one, the amount of misinformation there is online and on Instagram especially is dangerous to vulnerable, pregnant and postpartum parents who are looking online for an answer to stop their baby crying or to understand why they have night sweats or why they're feeling low. And that is another reason why I've created a safe space of actual experts that I know and trust who are qualified in the space to be able to talk about what they talk about. Because you can go down a rabbit hole on Instagram or on Google and believe that your baby has a tumour. Or believe that you have some sort of very rare condition which can cause health anxiety, etc., etc. So those are the two main things that I want people to know is it takes as long as it takes for you to feel good, yourself, confident, whatever it is. I don't want to say back to yourself. And the second one is please don't trust
everything you see
online.
Which is a message I hope it's just getting amplified louder and louder. And even if it's not just applying to motherhood, mothering, that side of things, even just in general, just how it's impacting how people are seeing themselves or the life they think they should be living or leading. Just don't believe everything online. Like we all know, you take about 50 pictures and you put one perfect one up on Instagram. We all go through that process. So you know this is all curated. It's not real.
It's not real.
Not at all.
So I think when I had Jude, it was much more about the bounce back, right? Bless Victoria Beckham being asked to weigh herself on TFI Friday after she had a baby. I mean, it's disgraceful, right? It was much more about the beautiful, how everything looks, you know? And actually, I think it's swung to this new place of health and nutrition and telling mothers to take a crazy herb that's going to make them feel better, with them not understanding actually what it is, whether it's okay for breastfeeding.
Yeah.
There's that. And then there's also, we're going to joke about all the ugly truths of parenthood that I think almost doesn't allow people to feel like they can say, I love being a mum.
Yes, that's true. I mean, the negative in any scenario is always the loudest, it seems. And I find that people don't want to share any more positive stories because you get, okay, good for you. Or like, well, you're the anomaly here. This is what it's like. And we're going to be here collectively and make you feel bad, even if it's not intentional. But it is definitely, it's weird. It's really fucking weird. It's bizarre. Like, why would you do that? But it's easy how that's just the collective, or it seems that that's the collective mindset. It's weird.
Like, I love the newborn phase.
Yeah. It's great.
I didn't love it so much with Jude, obviously. But like, I would take the newborn phase again and again. And I know some people who really don't enjoy it, but love the toddler phase, right?
Yeah.
Every phase is welcome.
Yeah.
And every person with their own way of doing things is welcome in the space. But it's also
100%.
okay to say that you like being a mum.
Yeah.
I feel like we've kind of gone into this phase now where we just get to have a bitch and a moan about it all the time. Totally great. But I feel like the pendulum swung almost too far that way too.
I agree, yeah. It's really odd. This is, I remember speaking about this to someone as well, where it's like, oh, if you're a mum, you can't be successful. If you're a mum, you can't do these things, or your life has stopped, your life has changed. And it's like, why is this the rhetoric? Why is this the conversation? Because it's also not true. Like, whatever it is that a mother decides to do, that's fine. But if she's actually doing what she says she's going to do, that's actually a successful whatever that lane is. Yeah. So it's really bizarre, this notion that you can't anymore, or life has stopped. And it's like, what did your moms do? They carried on. They did whatever they were doing. You saw that yourselves. That's actual like proof if you really want that. Weird. We're just in this weird space. Human beings are weird sometimes. It drives me nuts. Moving on from that. Go on.
But sorry, just on that, doesn't it? For me, what I keep saying to my clients, I'm like, the most rebellious act is just to be yourself. In a time when we've got books to tell us how to parent, books to tell us how to eat, wellness experts that are telling you that you have to have 9 ounces of lukewarm water every morning before you start your day.
I'd say it's true.
Just be yourself.
Yeah.
I believe that we have been stripped as mums, and all parents in general have been stripped of their instinct to sell it back to us.
Like, which is so wild. Like, that's just become a business, and we're falling for it, or we're buying into it.
Yeah, and that was my one thing when I created Postpartum Plan, is that I was never ever going to sell it through fear. I was never going to say, if you don't get this, then. Has it grown massively? But like, have I lost the ability to get thousands and millions of followers because of it? Maybe, but I'm sitting in the integrity of being like, it's a safe space with resources for people that want it, but I'm not going to tell you that you have to have it. Yeah. Because it's there for you if you choose. Yeah.
And I think what people will find it, they are finding it, and I think they're finding it in the right way as well. Yeah. And I think coming to it with the right kind of mindset, where this is an additional resource for them, and then they're becoming part of a community that is actually there for them, based in actual science, based in actual things that are proven. So I think personally anyway, I think that is the best and the right approach for sure, because everything is authentic, and that's super important in a time where inauthenticity, if that's the word I just made it up, I'm not sure, it feels like it's king, feels like it's everywhere that you go. So yeah. Perfect. Touching on that as well, like, I know your work has led you into Parliament. Talk me through that. How was that?
Yeah, that was an amazing moment. So Thea Clark, who was an MP, and she was the one who stood up in Commons and bravely talked about her own birth trauma. And she set up the birth trauma inquiry. And I was asked to come in and speak about what I thought recommendations should be.
What was that like for you on a personal level before?
Pinch me moment, right? Like, absolutely amazing. Yeah. To be part, and then to be in Westminster, being part of something that I think is really important to talk about. And for people in Parliament to be aware of and understand the impact of birth trauma in all its shapes and sizes. We talk about big T trauma and little T trauma, but any trauma is explained as something that someone can't handle at that specific moment. Okay. I mean, talk about birth, right? An emergency C-section, suddenly being pulled out of birth pool and told that it's an emergency, someone having to press the emergency button in the room, baby being taken away, or any sort of feeling that you can't really process in the time can cause a little or a big trauma. Now, that can with some people, obviously, cause issues further on in terms of a dysregulated nervous system, stress, etc. Right? So it just felt really validating that it was becoming a more mainstream topic. So what I spoke about mainly during that time is that postpartum plan has now become an employee benefit.
Okay.
So now companies gift it to their colleagues or their employees going on parental leave.
That's incredible.
And it's another way that I think works really well in the sense that it's been gifted to the parents by their company, so that they feel that their company understands that when they go on parental leave, it's not just this gap where the company's not speaking to them and then they come back and expect it to be the same person. The company gets what they're going through. So companies from, the SMEs all the way up to kind of the bigger companies are now gifting it, which is amazing. So my recommendations during that time was actually making sure that any sort of birth trauma support was given to all parents, not just the birthing parent.
Got you. Okay.
Because especially for partners, they might have 2 weeks a month off.
Yeah.
And then they come back and are just expected to be the same person.
Yeah.
Birth trauma or not, they are sleep deprived. They've gone through a big thing. They might have their partner calling them at 4 p.m., which is what I did to my husband. Where are you when you're coming home? And I think it's important to recognise that all parents go through a massive shift and therefore require support. One of the best testimonials I got was from one of the corporates that has Postpartum Plan on its books. I did an expectant parents workshop for them. They're a law firm.
Okay.
And I did it and I talked about Postpartum Plan. The importance, I said, are there any questions? And, you say that on a Zoom and it's like deathly silent. And I'm like, wait.
You can send it by email if you feel more comfortable.
Yeah, you do that kind of pause when you're like, anyone? And a dad comes on and he's like, actually, I just want to say thank you. Our baby came early and we had nothing. And we just had Postpartum Plan. And actually, that was the best thing we could have had, because then I understood what my partner was going through in her birth, in her recovery. And I then could cook all the lovely recipes that you have on there. I could educate myself on abdominal versus vaginal birth and what kind of things that she was going through on the inside that could help him understand and be more empathetic. So
that's great.
Yeah,
that's actually really brilliant. Maybe a random question, I'm not sure, but are there any policy changes or public conversations that you're pushing for right now?
Yes. So my thing has always been that birth is the end goal. And what's happening now is that birth is the end goal, and yet then people go off on their parental leave from work and they're not, they're kind of left to their own devices, right? So from society and then from the company itself. So the company, I believe that most companies, and it's amazing what we offer, given the fact that there's other countries that don't give it, they give up to a year. Right? That's amazing, right? They give time and money. Brilliant. Given the fact that there are certain countries that don't even give time.
Yes.
Right? But time and money doesn't equate to emotional and physical recovery. So I was given a year off in a company that supported women phenomenally, right? All women on the board, incredible parental leave package. I came back, returned to work, and I had a nervous breakdown and I quit. Because I was not emotionally and physically ready to deal with the existing birth trauma I had and go back into the corporate world.
Of course,
And I believe that was my failure because I couldn't cope. But I don't think that that's the case. And I don't think that's the case for a lot of people. There's a stat, 75% of all parents will return to work with some sort of overwhelm or stress. I think that's probably just the diagnosed cases, right? Like most people do. If you go back with any sort of stress, trauma, dysregulated nervous system, dysfunctional breathing, which can happen after you've had abdominal birth because your body shifts its breath to up here because it's painful to breathe down there. When we breathe up here, that's a signal that we're hyperventilating, right? So that signals to the body that we're in panic mode. You'll think that you can't cope in the workplace. But that's not you. That's the fact that we haven't been given the right resources. So I'm now really pushing for resources like Postpartum Plan to be given as standard in parental leave so that people are given the tools that they need to thrive. And return to work feeling like I can do this because I now have the tools. If I wet myself at work, I know I'm not failing. It's because of my pelvic floor. I can go do my pelvic floor exercises. And I also feel empowered to say to HR or to say to someone, this is what I'm going through.
Yeah, and get that support. That's brilliant. How do you see us closing the gap between birth and actual postpartum care? Might be a too big a question, but...
So do you mean in terms of after birth and what goes on?
Yeah, in between that space, and I guess people feeling more supported or knowing that they have the resources that they can pull through. Like how... I guess that's what I was thinking if it's too big a question. Like if there's a roadmap of some sort, like what does that look like? Or how quickly do you think that could potentially form? It's a big...
It's a great question. So our NHS is amazing, right? It is. The fact that we have free care, we have the most phenomenal people there who are not paid enough, doing a lot of work, right? The NHS cannot afford to be giving the support that parents need after they have their baby. So for me, and I've tried, and unfortunately the NHS cannot be offering recommendations for private companies. But even just saying after someone's given birth, here's a list of the type of experts out there to look out for. If you have any sort of pelvic floor issues, go to a physio. Find a physio in your local area. If your baby is crying or has colic, or if you had a traumatic birth, a cranial osteopath is a good person to speak to. There's a lot of free access. There's a lot of free experts out there. There are meetups. I mean, there were a lot more that have now unfortunately been cancelled by the government, in cuts. But there are still villages and communities out there that you can go to speak to and to speak up. The other thing I'd really like to see more of is the NCTs of the world and the prenatal, antenatal classes actually being honest about what goes on. Because what I find is the people that benefit most from Postpartum Plan are the ones who've signed up before they give birth, because then they've navigated everything.
Got you,
and they understand what to expect.
Informed,
Unfortunately, for me, no disrespect to the antenatal class that I did, it was very much like, you have your baby, this is how you change a nappy and this is how you breastfeed.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It wasn't, I'm going to look you in the eye and say there is a potential that you might have a birth injury. Potential. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. But we're all old enough and ugly enough to understand that there is a risk associated with birth. Let's all treat each other like the adults that we are and say, if you have an episiotomy, this is what may happen. If you go through an emergency C-section, which, by the way, I think it's around 50% of C-sections do end up in emergency. This is therefore what you may require. So that we can plan ahead. I always compare postpartum parents to athletes. Imagine any athlete going into like the biggest game of their lives. Let's use Serena Williams or Venus Williams, right? Imagine if they'd gone into Wimbledon and hadn't even considered what might happen if they get injured. It just wouldn't happen.
You're prepared on every front as best as you can, 110%. Even you describing the NCT classes, antenatal classes, that's what we had. It was changing nappy, changing this, and me and my partner were like, well, I'll be on this. Like we're lucky enough to grow up with children around us or friends with kids, etc., etc. So we know all this already. It's like we thought there was going to be some gem or some knowledge that'd be shared that you don't know, but it was just, okay, bye. And we're like, so what did we just do and why? So that's very true.
And then subconsciously, and that's why I'm saying there's no, I'm not shaming around it. It's just the way it's always been done. I remember we had this A4 piece of paper, always A4 pieces of paper for me, A4 printed piece of paper on, these are the drugs that you might take if you have to have an epidural. Here's all the awful things that might happen if you take it. Imagine the guilt and shame of all these people going into birth going, I'm not going to have it. And then having to have it.
And then,
I have friends who, if they hadn't had a C-section or if they hadn't had intervention, would have died in childbirth. The science that has been created around birth is there to save lives. No guilt and shame. I went to see a friend of mine who'd had an emergency C-section, and she looked me in the eyes and said, I didn't birth properly.
Oh.
So imagine the emotional turmoil that she was going through at that time. Right?
That's the case. Yeah, I've had people say as well, like, they've literally been told, or it's been alluded to them in the space, just kind of echoing that, oh, well, you didn't push the baby out, so you didn't really give birth. Or like, what are you talking about? Like, you didn't do blah, 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 blah. Which is wild. Do you know what? That's a major fucking surgery. That's not a joke. And then the recovery after that, and you can't maneuver in the same way. Going over speed bumps is the whole thing. You can't lift anything. And you can't lift anything heavier than your baby. Just all kinds of stuff. That's huge.
Yeah, and then think about a C-section if you've had a child before. So you've got a 2.5-year-old wanting to be carried.
Of course.
Abdominal surgery, C-section is major abdominal surgery.
Huge.
And then we're kind of just expected to go home and deal with it. I remember I just created Postpartum Plan, and the Euros was on. And Trent Alexander-Arnold had injured himself, and they live streamed over to him in Portugal at this beautiful rehab centre because he'd torn his calf muscle or something like that. I can't quite remember it, so sorry if I've got that wrong. And I was like, that's nice. Imagine if everyone who had major abdominal surgery after they'd given birth was given that rehab potential to be able to recover well. I go back to the fact that we are athletes, right? Like what we go through in pregnancy and birth is more than an Ironman. It's more than a triathlon. Like the amount of blood, extra blood that's created, our organs are moved. The hormones that we have, the rise in hormones, and then the radical drop in hormones. So this is a shout out to society in general and the companies around it, but also just to parents to be like, you're fucking amazing. Incredible.
110%. Yeah. I look at my mom or anyone who has ever been in a parenting role around me, and I'm like, I don't know how you did that. And I'm just here with one kid going, I don't know how you did that. My mom had 5. Like, I don't know how you have 3. I don't know how you do that. Like, even this question, are you gonna have more? Yeah, we'd love to have more. We're like, how are we gonna manage 2? Do you know what I mean? It's incredible, and it's wonderful and joyous and challenging and lonely and scary and every single emotion. But this is not a joke. Parenting is not a joke. Like it's incredible and insane and incredible.
And yet you do it. And I love the complexity of all those different words that you used, because that is what parenting is. I'm reading an amazing book at the moment about actually we gain happiness from problem solving. We don't gain happiness from everything being perfect all the time. Because if everything was perfect, then how would we know that it was perfect? Which, by the way, there's no such thing as perfect. Let's just put that out there. You are the parent you are because of the problems that you've had. You mentioned before about the juggle. You and your partner are creatives. You find out you have a job at a moment's notice and suddenly you have to sort childcare out, right? But your happiness, your strength, your resilience is gained through the problems that you're solving.
That is true.
Not through everything being plain sailing. I am grateful for the birth that I had with Jude. Genuinely. Genuinely grateful for it, because I believe birth cracks you open and reveals a lot of stuff about us that then we can help release with the right support networks around us, right?
Yeah, I hear that.
So parenting is all of those rich words that you used, and it's okay to admit that and believe that it is hard and beautiful all at once.
How has motherhood changed the way you show up in your work?
Oh, wow, I love that. So I'm also a reflexologist and a breathwork practitioner. So I guess when I was in the corporate world, without realizing it, motherhood made me a lot better at time management.
Okay.
Because someone would come up to me and be like, can I have a quick meeting? And I'd be like, I have a train at exactly 14 minutes past 5. So you make it 10 minutes or nothing. Patience, not sweating the small stuff.
Okay.
And especially for reflexology and breath work, going super deep here, our society has made us lose touch with our bodies, right? We are very cerebral. We think our way out of issues. A lot of our somatic experience is held within us, right? So trauma, tension, stress, like tension in your shoulders, etc. So what it's really helped me with is understand with breathwork and reflexology is our bodies are existing within the mind, to use a Peter Crone line, of our bodies exist within what our mind is thinking. So if there is stress and overwhelm, then our bodies are responding to it, which means that actually I can support my clients so much more with their somatic experience and with their bodies to help release any tension through reflexology and breath work. I think with Postpartum Plan, I created Postpartum Plan when I'd had the 2 kids, and then I ended up having a third. And actually going back into postpartum and really truly understanding it again through the lens of Postpartum Plan has made me change it. Postpartum Plan is an ever-growing experience because I was also doing it as a self-employed person this time. So I was juggling a business and a baby, and I had so much more compassion for myself.
Yeah, okay. This touches on, I guess, a bit more of what you said, which was I wanted to understand what boundaries or practices have helped you stay grounded.
Wow. I've got a friend who's a child psychotherapist, and she says the most amazing line, which is no is a full sentence.
Yes.
And
that's a really good one.
It's good, right? Yeah. And as a recovering people pleaser, learning to say no for saying no is one of the best boundaries that I've got.
Yeah. It's weird, getting used to it, right? Saying it and then not following up with anything else, or not making an excuse, or not explaining why you said no, just no.
Yeah.
It's
And then what else comes with that is when someone asks me to do something, is I don't have to respond straight away.
Yeah. Fair.
In a society where everything is quick notifications, quickly respond. Yeah. For anyone here who's got kids of school age, the WhatsApp groups that are kicking off with, this, that, the other. Yeah. Just breathe. If someone asks you to do something, just take a breath and see whether it feels right within your body, because your body will know. Yeah. It goes back to what I was saying before about us being stripped of our instinct, right? Take a breath. Do I want to do this?
Yeah.
Am I doing this because I want to, or am I doing it because I feel I have to? And then one of my other favorite lines is it okay if I just get back to you in a bit?
Yeah. Nice.
Because that's also okay.
Yeah.
That's a boundary in itself.
Okay.
So I'd say those 2 things. That and the standard ones, but I thoroughly agree with them, is that I turn my phone off at 6 p.m, at 8 p.m. at a push.
Okay. Ooh.
And I don't turn it on in the morning until I've woken up. I've, spent some time with the kids.
Yeah.
Got them sorted. And then I turn it on a bit later. Ooh. And I know that's hard.
Yeah, I was just thinking, could I do that? Turn off my phone. Ooh. Nice. Okay.
Try it.
Yeah. I was like, I think I might have to. Because that was my reaction, just turn off my phone. Okay, I think I'm going to try that.
It's never in my bedroom, ever.
Okay.
We now have, can you believe it? Alarm clocks. Not that we need the alarm, because the kids always wake us up before. But we don't have the phones in the room, in the bedroom.
Nice.
And that is a really important one for me. Another one, shock horror, is I delete Instagram.
Okay.
And I turn it on when I want to post something.
Okay.
That's because Instagram is addictive, and I use it for my business, and then I get sucked down something.
Yes,
and what I was saying before, just to circle back about going down rabbit holes of wellness and all that kind of stuff, I just find it better that I just turn it off. So all these things have helped me just clear my mind a bit, and take a step back from looking outward to other people for validation, and rather just being like, okay, I'll just make a decision by myself on what I think the best decision is.
Yeah. Nice. Smart. Okay. I guess lastly, what would you say to someone navigating a difficult postpartum period right now?
I ran a workshop the other day, And we were talking about everyone was talking about their births. And one of the women said, yeah, it was really hard. And I guess I had a little bit of postnatal depression. And I'm like, I'm just going to stop you there. Listen to what you just said. A little bit of postnatal depression is completely negating the experience that you went through, because postnatal depression has been put out there so many times. It's almost like, oh yeah, we're all going to have a little bit of depression, and that's completely normal. So making sure that anyone who is going through a time and feeling low does speak to someone. Even if it is, I know sometimes GPs don't do much, but if you've just said it to the GP, they have it on file, so that if something bigger does happen, then they've got it there, I think is important. That said, because postnatal depression and charities have done such a good job in talking about that, is I think we're also ignoring the fabric and the variety of other things that go on. Postnatal anxiety, hormonal shifts, feeling low, feeling tired can change your mood. And actually understanding that what you're going through may well be postnatal depression, but also could be you going through a low point that means that you're going to come at it the other side afterwards. So anyone who's going through a hard time, just have some compassion for yourself. We are so critical of ourselves, first and foremost, and believe that, but it shouldn't be this way. It shouldn't be this way. I'm supposed to love parenthood all the time. It's okay every now and then, dare I say it, like to find having a baby a bit boring. Right?
Not fair enough,
That's okay. And there are some mums out there who love getting on the floor and doing all the craft and everything, and there are some mums that don't. Totally fine.
It's true.
So having some compassion for yourself of, I'm going through a process. It's not going to last forever. But I'm also going to make note of how my body's feeling. And if this gets worse, then I'm going to make sure that I speak to someone about it. Speaking to your partner, if you don't have a partner, speaking to friends, family, who's in your network that you can speak to. Chances are someone is going through the same as you.
Yeah, this is true.
I'd say that.
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
It's a pleasure. It's so good to be here.
No, thank you so much. I think all of this has been so useful. And I think even just for people to recognize and understand that this is out there as a resource, this is out there as a community, this is out there as a safe space, I think is just super important. And also it's not just focusing on the mums and people giving birth, it's also partners have a space where they can find something to lean on and get some information. So yeah, I think what you're doing is super key. It's long overdue. The fact that it didn't exist before you created it, again, I think says something. I think it speaks volumes. So yeah, I think it's amazing. It's amazing work what you're doing.
Thank you. Well, same to you.
Yeah.
You know, this podcast is brilliant about raising voices, actually having a conversation with people about what they're going through.
Yeah.
You know, the guests that you've had are varied, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And I really like that. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, no worries. To everyone listening, whether you're in the thick of the 4th trimester or supporting a partner or even years beyond birth, still feeling the ripple effects, you are not alone. You can connect with Meg and explore the amazing resources at the Postpartum Plan. Links will be below. And as always, if this episode resonated with you, please share it with another mama or another parent who might need it today. Until next time, take care of yourself. You matter.